If you spend any amount of time in the woods, and if you're tracking or still hunting or anything like that, or going out to your stand, and you're hunting in the winter, you're gonna run into this crunchy, crusty kind of snow where it warmed up the day before and then it got cold, and now the top layer, when you step, it busts and it makes a lot of noise, and it is often accompanied by little or no wind, so you make a ton of noise. And we're going to talk about that today and maybe give you guys some tips that might help you close in on a big buck on crusty snow, or at least give you a better chance of get the one you're tracking.
No matter when you hunt, especially on snow, sooner or later you're gonna have this. It's super crunchy, and a lot of times it also comes with like ear-ringing silence, like drives you nuts. So some of the things that I do is I'll make my steps kind of short and quick, and I'll just take 6 or 8 or 10 and stop and listen, and 6 or 8 or 10 and stop and listen. A lot of times I won't take big, slow steps, making a steady noise. I'll be like a squirrel, jump, 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 stop, stop. I do that some, and I'll call a lot, and I'll listen a lot. A lot of times too, when I walk, I'll make like a double sound with each foot. I'll set my heel, and then set my toe, and I'll ka-tunk, 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 and it almost sounds like 4 legs walking. And I'll just do 6 or 8, 10 steps, and then stop and listen, and then call, and stop and listen and call, and just keep going along. If you make kind of quick little steps like a deer would, and then you do the calling, man, you're going to want to be wearing your orange, because if there's a hunter and he hears the crunching and the stop, and then a boom, 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 and stop, and boom, 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 and stop, and you're coming at him, plus you're calling, this is kind of a dangerous thing sometimes. If there's tons and tons of hunters around, you're probably not going to want to do this, because it's one of those things. So like, you're not going to want to try and pull it off where there's a million people or something like that. But we definitely wear lots of orange, and we'll give it a try here, and maybe even we can show just how bad it is. This is crunchy. It is just wicked. And I'll listen to the sound I make, and I'll just I'll stop a lot. I'll call. The other thing is, like, if you're walking and calling and doing a lot of it, stay in shooting lanes all the time. Someplace where you can see a ways. If it's real noisy and you're in the real tight bushes, you're never going to see an animal. I don't care. There's no chance of getting anywhere near them. And especially like with an aggressive call, a buck is not going to go into a super tight spot with you to check you out. He's not going to do that. He'll walk around out in the open. Like right in here is a better place to get in a fight than in the thick bushes. That rabbit jail, you don't want anything to do with that when it's super crunchy. I try and stay out of that as much as I can. Also though, the buck will go through there. So if I'm going through the rabbit jail and I'm about to break into the open, I do not just come walking out in the open. I know you're in a hurry to go out there and have a look, but you want to look into the opening before you enter it, because if the deer is on the other side of the opening and you pop into the same opening as him, he's leaving. So you want to look into it before you come out of it, and he'll feel plenty confident because you haven't come out yet. So he'll stand there, and if you're looking and peeking into the openings beyond, you'll see him standing there, and you can shoot him from like cover back inside a little bit, because when you pop right out in the same hole as him, he's gone. They don't even 2 seconds, they're just boom out of there. And hopefully we can just kind of do one of those numbers, and this is super tough hunting conditions, and just got to keep trying and try it on a million bucks. The other thing about calling is there's some deer that can't wait to hear somebody or something, and then there's other deer that are super cautious about it. Little ones will be scared of aggressive calling, and the big ones might be really patient, and they'll stand there a long time before they make a move. They'll want to make sure what they're getting into. And a lot of times they do make a move. They'll usually make it with a little bit of cover and a downwind side. Or sometimes they'll just be direct and come right at you, but not always. That's the tough thing, is these conditions like will discourage you, and you'll say, I'll never get near a deer and this and that. But I got 30 yards from a moose today in this. It was super crunchy. She must have been chewing a cud or something, and I just came crunching, smashing down through the woods. I was looking for deer tracks, and she let me get right at 30 yards, and then she jumped to her feet and looked at me in surprise. At 30 yards on a day like today that's pretty good. Stop and listen a lot. Don't be afraid to make a little noise, because you're going to anyway. But even the deer, if they're on their feet and they're making noise, they're not hearing you. If you go into a cut a little bit and say you stop, and you're just standing there listening, and the buck is making noise, he's making as much noise, he can't hear anything either. And if he keeps walking steady, and he has no reason to think or look, you'll just be standing there listening, and crunchy, 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 and he'll come by you. You know, and as long as you're on top of a deer trail or tracks of some kind, he's got a chance of coming by you. So if you're stopping and listening a little bit more than they are, you're in good shape, you know. And there's lots of deer this year. I'm just amazed at what everybody's shooting. You guys have shot some awesome deer, and it's really been a good year, and there's still lots of big deer in the woods. That's the other thing is, man, there's a lot of good big ones around. And they're walking in the garbage.
You just gotta crunch up on them.
Yeah, this is crunchy stuff, wicked, and it's tough, but you know, don't let it bother you. Just keep going anyway, and you'll see stuff. And again, just make sure you're wearing your orange when you're doing this stuff, because that crunchy sound plus it is really convincing.
It's like turkey hunting.
We were just tracking a buck up this valley. Taylor went over the other side of it, and he's paralleling me, and the buck's coming up through. It's a great big one. He's walking right along like crazy, and he's like on a mission, like he's headed for Florida or something, and like he's just walking and walking, and I'm like, I don't know if we're gonna catch this thing, but anyway, this is what he's doing, and of course we finally, the buck crosses a brook and gets over on the Taylor's Ridge, and the two of us come right together on the track just about. He was kind of just parallel, like a pair of coyotes. We're kind of doing that a little bit, hoping that maybe if I jumped him or he would come back to me, that'd be great, but if I jumped him, he went ahead, maybe Taylor could be able to do something. And there was a runway that crossed the valley and went over the other side, and there's a lot of tracks on it. And I said to him, I said, boy, I got an east-west runway, and he's just turned onto it, and he's headed down the brook. And Taylor just pulled up on that runway, and sure enough, the buck had already crossed, but if he was in between us, we would have been able to do something about it. But that just trying is, and Taylor could see me coming, he could hear me, he saw my boots a little bit, and he's like, ooh, and his crunch, 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 stop, crunch, 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 stop, and he's listening.
And then grunt, 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 crunch, 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 stop,
yeah,
and I'm like, oh man.
And then out comes the orange, you know,
yep.
He's like, no, you know, so again, you want to make sure you're wearing your orange.
It's convincing, it really is.
Yeah, and just make it sound good and just go for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's better than nothing.
Anyway.
Let's go crunch our way back to the blacktop.
Yeah, let's go crunch out of here.
Yeah, but this is a new area here, and this is a real good buck, and I've been meaning to hunt him, and it's been 2 weeks, and we haven't been able to get over here. And you guys found
there's a lot
last
of land.
Yeah, and he's got a beautiful foot on him, so maybe we can run into this bugger. Probably like Monday or Tuesday. We'll put a hole in this.
Because of course today's Saturday, so we got tomorrow off.
Yeah, we're gonna take tomorrow off.
Do some videos and stuff.
Yep. Anyway. Yeah, good luck out there, everybody.
Yeah, let's crunch them.
Come on out and crunch.
Yeah. Who better for advice on hunting crusty snow than Captain Crunch down there? What's up? Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe. If you have any other questions about hunting or about some of the things we do or stuff that, you know, scenarios or anything like that, you know, feel free to hit us up in the comments section or message us on Instagram or any other stuff, and we'll do our best to answer them, or we might put out a video about it. So reach out and we'll see if we can help you. Help you guys get a big buck.